Welcome in small KBC. Today question is who was first election commissioner of India? Option is R.M. Shukla or Sukumar Sen. Friends, be smart and think, then give your answer. Question is important to next round, my friend. Then be smart. What? Hey, Sukumar Sen, R.N. Shukla, R.N. Shukla or Sukumar Sen. One is right answer. What? R.N. Shukla. R.N. Shukla. Be confident. Okay. R.N. Shukla is wrong answer, my dear friend. Right answer is Sukumar Sen. Okay, dear friend. First election commissioner of India is Sukumar Sen.